Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of PB&J. We're back. I was knocked out of commission last week with a cold. I sounded horrible. I'm almost 100%. I might have to edit out some light coughing, but it should be okay. Me and Brian are here with our first wrestling podcast. There was a big week in WWE, and we wanted to cover it. I've been a fan since I was a kid, but recently I kind of tailed off. Brian watches a little bit more than me, so he's a little more up to the current stuff. But we're gonna go over the week with the Raw 25th and anniversary and the Royal Rumble. So what's up, Brian? What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's good that we decided to talk about wrestling. It's I mean, we all know that it's like entertainment now, right? Like, but we watched it since we were kids. So, I mean, I think that's why it's easier for us to continue watching it. So if we missed it when we were kids and then we try to watch it now, I think it would be harder for us to get into it. And I think that's how it is for most of the adults that are still watching it. And maybe that's why, in an unfair way, that they get criticized for their story, because back then nobody really cared about the story. Now that people, the fans got older, they're more critical of like how things happen and surprises and all that stuff. So, but it's still interesting. Like even though it's like it's fake, it's all staged and everything. There's still the drama behind it it's like a soap opera pretty much, right?
Yeah. I remember that when I was a teenager, really into it, and that's how I would explain it. Imagine a soap opera, but instead of talking, they beat each other up.
Right, and it's always solved inside a ring. Like,
yeah.
They can't do it any other way. They can't talk it out or anything. It has to be like they gotta fight it out.
Yeah. I was so just a quick history lesson. I was in when I was a kid, I was really into it. This was like late 80s, early 90s. It used to be on like Channel 5 or Channel 11, like at noon. So I remember like when The Undertaker debuted, and I remember Hogan and Bret Hart, Jake the Snake. That era, I was really into it as a kid. And then my dad watched it and he ordered some pay-per-view. So I was into it as a kid. And then it went to cable when it shifted to cable. I didn't have cable as a kid. So when it shifted to USA, was that the first one, right? Monday Night Raw?
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have cable, so I kind of lost, not interest, but I couldn't watch it. And then back then, one, I was little, and there was no internet, so it was hard for me to kind of keep up with it. And if I was over at my cousin's house or something and they were watching, I would watch. But I lost a few years there, and then when the Monday Night Wars really kicked off with WCW and the NWO and the Stone Cold and The Rock, when that started kicking off, and I was watching it at my cousin's house or my friend's house, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So then I begged my mom at the time to get cable. I was like, please. And I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school or something. And she was like, okay, fine. So we got cable. And then I jumped headfirst back into it. So I was super into it for about 5 years. And then I want to say around 2001, 2002 is when I got back into MMA. And so my interest started to wane, and then that's when WWF bought WCW. Remember that?
Yeah. And Shane and Vince were on both shows.
Yeah, and that was crazy. But then the story ended up being really bad, the invasion angle.
Right. And
then WWE just kind of seemed to lose. I mean, it didn't have a competitor anymore, so it wasn't pushing its boundaries, and it got really bland and really boring. And I completely lost interest again. I was like, well, this isn't. One, the storylines aren't good, and then I don't have to worry about the matches because now I can watch real fighting on MMA with MMA. So I lost interest for a long time, and then I want to say recently, I think when we were working together, remember the CM Punk, the pipe bomb?
Yeah.
That kind of, I was like, what? That was crazy. I read about it. Everyone was talking about it, and so that was like 2011. I started it kind of piqued my interest again, because I was like, wow, they're really starting to blur the line between real and fake. And I started kind of following online more, and then talking with you because you were watching it, right? You were still, you were watching it more than I was, obviously. And then we would kind of talk about work. And so ever since then, I've been kind of semi back into it. Still watch the Rumble. I still like watching the Rumble because it's fun. So now I'm pretty much, I watch the Rumble, I watch WrestleMania, and I follow online most of the time.
Yeah, for me, like when I was younger, my cousin, who was a lot older than I was, like he was like 18 or 19, he would take us to the video store and rent, like at Blockbuster Video or something, like WrestleMania 5 or something, and we would watch it. And every time we rented it, we would watch it like multiple times, and it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But then after that, it kind of like for me, I dropped off from it too until like my senior year in high school, and because like there's these guys like who were my classmates, they were really into it. They talked about it all the time, and they were like doing the DX like sucking thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Then when I went to college, I met a guy who was really into it too, and every Monday we would start watching it. So that was like in '98.
Yeah.
That was like kind of during the Monday Night Wars. I mean, it was kind of like at the tail end of it. I missed the good parts of it, but that was when I pretty much got back into it. And yeah, and like you said, like and then after college, there was a period where I kind of dropped off, and there were just too many other things with life and everything. But yeah, like the past few years, I've sort of got back into it and watched it on and off. More recently, I would just have it on in the background, just to kind of follow what's going on and stuff like that. So
yeah, it really seemed like I want to say like around 05, because I remember going to my grandpa's house and him and my dad were still watching it, like 05 to like, man, maybe 4 or 5 years. Like the talent was really bad too, right? Like there was just no one interesting to watch. Like, and John Cena by that point had already established himself, and I hated John Cena. I still hate that guy. But there was just no talent. Like I remember watching him, like, man, these guys suck. Like, and I can't even tell you really like who was the top wrestlers other than Cena and Undertaker, right? Because Undertaker's always been there,
right?
But by that time, Brock, I think, had already left. He was gonna start doing his MMA thing. The Rock had already moved to movies. Triple H had already kind of took a step back because he was getting older. And it was just like, I don't even remember the wrestlers. And it was just really boring and really bad. But I think recently, the last few years, maybe, I don't know if you think this is why, but I think because Triple H has kind of taken more of a, like he's kind of running, not running the whole show, right? Obviously that's Vince, but he's gotten more involved, and they've able to bring in really good wrestlers, right? Like it seems like the last few years they've been able to bring in like really athletic, exciting wrestlers to watch, right? Like,
so a few things, like, going back to what you said about like that period when it was slow, I think like what the company was trying to do was to be more family friendly, and so that, anytime they show blood now, like on a recap, they would turn it black and white, so you don't really see like real blood, even though it's there, and a lot of that stuff has kind of gone away, where it's more more family friendly, more for kids, and so they can sell toys and have their stocks go up and all that other stuff. But yeah, going to like what you mentioned about Triple H, I saw in an interview that he's the past few years since he's kind of been more involved with like talent acquisition and stuff like that. He started NXT, which was a really cool thing. It got really popular. For me, like if you want to watch wrestling, like better wrestling, like that's where you would go. Whereas like you watch their other flagship shows, it's more of just like getting into commercial breaks and trying to pay bills. It's
right.
More like an advertising for like pay-per-view. Like everything's on the WWE network now, but it's more about promoting pay-per-views and who's sponsoring that pay-per-view, and it's more marketing driven. And and he's also started a few of those like tournaments, like a European one, Mae Young for women's, and they opened a performance center in Orlando. So, and
the cruiserweight, right? The cruiserweight one a couple years ago.
Yeah, so they've done a lot to recruit people from all over the world. Because back then it was like only a few regional places. I mean, you can probably get more into it. Back then, like in the 80s, where there's only like five or six regions of wrestling, and you would go there and kind of work your way up, pay your dues, and work your way into like the mainstream, like WWE or one of those bigger brands. So now, like, it's in a way, there's more ways to get into it to get there versus having to go to the local regional route.
Yeah, and I know a lot of those indie guys, like they had like no shot of getting into WWE because they were like small, wherever they wrestled.
Yeah.
But now with the internet and like I said, Triple H really expanding the reach, these guys have a better, like they have a better way to get noticed,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you said that his talent acquisition from all over the world, right? You have guys currently right now, right? Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor from Ireland, Aleister Black from England. Asuka's the hot, thing in the women's division from Japan, and you're bringing in all these foreign wrestlers, but they're all really good. So, and I'm hearing more. Like I'm hearing Will Ospreay, who's one of the top British wrestlers. I heard he might be coming in soon, and Marty Scurll, the villain, he's wrestling New Japan, and another British guy. So it's kind of cool that he's doing that. And then, like you said, with NXT, they don't have to push them onto the roster right away, and where they can get lost. They can go to NXT. They can work their gimmick there. They can work it out. They can get accustomed to the WWE style and really establish a character before they even debut. And then when they do debut, they're already known and they're ready to have a fan base.
Yeah.
So it's a smart way to do it. And I think that's helped a lot. Like I've noticed just a lot of really, really good wrestlers lately. So I think Triple H is a smart dude, obviously, and he knows what he's doing. So, I mean, it got me back into watching these matches. So the last week on Raw was the 25th anniversary, and that's the first Raw I've watched beginning to end in years because it was the 25th anniversary. And they brought in bunch of the guys from the Attitude Era, which was my era. So of course I had to watch, and it was cool. It was cool to see all those guys back again. Some of them still look pretty good. Some of them look pretty bad, but it was good to see them interacting. So of course they kicked the show off with Vince and Stone Cold, right? They had to do that. There's no other way. And that's cool because I think the Raw 1000th episode, Stone Cold wasn't able to make it because of knee surgery, I think. So that was a bummer. I mean, Stone Cold's one of the biggest, if not the biggest champion of all time. It was good to see him on the 25th anniversary because he was the man. That was my cousin's favorite guy, Stone Cold. Everything was he had Stone Cold posters up in the room, and he would always walk around and stun us and stuff out of nowhere. But yeah, that was cool to see Stone Cold back on there. No Rock, because The Rock is probably making movies right now, but that's okay. And then they had half the show in the Manhattan Center. It was in New York, right? And where the first Raw was. And I didn't really like the segments on there because the crowd was so quiet. And then when the wrestlers would come out, you couldn't hear the pop. And you were saying because they had to mute the audience, right? Because it was
because it was so the place was so small. Like if one person yelled something, you would hear what he's saying. So any obscene stuff that was yelled in the crowd, it would be picked up. Yeah, and they had Raw in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center, so it's not that far away. So I've heard that like people who were at the Manhattan Theater, they were actually really pissed off because they paid like hundreds of dollars to get
oh
in
there.
Man, and they were just watching the TV screen for more than half the show, right?
Yeah,
they only went to them like
a couple times,
4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
the time they're just standing there watching TV, and it was the same thing when they switched over to that theater, and then everyone in the Barclays Center is watching the TV from there too. So it's kind of strange. So I thought they would like fill in some dark matches in between, so that you wouldn't just be standing around watching the screen, like when it's on the other side. But I guess they wanted you to be engaged to see what's going on the other show or at the other location. But really strange. I mean, on TV it's fine; it doesn't affect us. But I think for those that were there, it might be kind of sucks to be watching a screen when you're there, and you expect a lot of stuff to go on. But they did bring in like a lot of the big name, like the DX guys and Razor at the end, so that was cool. I mean, but I think I would be upset too if I were there just to watch like a TV screen for like more than 2 hours,
Yeah. And and I was kind of looking. I was like, maybe they had more matches that we didn't know about, but I didn't see anything. I'm not sure. I don't think they did.
Yeah, they just had you watch the TV screen on what's going on like at the other location.
And I think that Undertaker. I don't know if you heard about this, but the Undertaker had he had that speech.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the speech was kind of awkward. Like it was like, is he coming back? Is he not? Is he done? And I read afterwards that the venue was so small that he got lost during his promo, and that's why the promo kind of didn't make any sense.
What does that mean? Like it was too small. Like he couldn't say what he wanted to say, or
he was kind of like looking at the crowd, and then he was like, "Oh shoot!" Like yeah. So I guess they said that he was looking around the crowd and kind of was like he got like He wasn't used to it. He wasn't used to everyone just being up in his face, and he kind of lost his way a little bit. And you couldn't really tell because he's so good. You know, you didn't even think about it. But there's the act backstage. He was like, "Oh man, I got flustered. The crowd was so small. I got in his face that I think that's the right word. He got flustered." And so his promo was like kind of weird because like it was almost like he's gonna come back, but maybe not, and he didn't really definitively say anything. But yeah, so that was just a funny tidbit. But yeah, the Undertaker giving a promo that he might not be done. Maybe one more at WrestleMania. I think last year it kind of looked like a retirement, but really it was he needed surgery, right? Like another hip replacement.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's not just that one. Like the past 3 years, he's been looking pretty bad. So he just comes out there, just limps around, and he just waits for the other guy to carry him through the match. Yeah, and then so like I don't remember how many years ago it was, but when he had that match with Brock, he got like a concussion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hospital and everything.
Yeah, so it sounds like he got his surgery, he's healed up, and he might get another match in there. Don't know against who. A lot of fans, are guessing Cena because they've actually never wrestled on like a big event like that. The problem with that is that someone has to lose, right?
Right.
It's like who's gonna lose? You're gonna have Undertaker lose again? He just lost, or you're gonna have Cena lose, who's one of your top guys, and then he gets buried. He's already starting to become a part-time guy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say he's already on his way out.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing. So he might end up. Who knows who end up wrestling? It's gonna have to be someone good though who can help carry the match. Right. Like he can't really do like him and Kane won't be good. We'll get into Kane later, but it's gonna be interesting. But I mean, it is cool. I hope he does come back and wrestle one more time. I hate Roman Reigns too. I see him as John Cena 2.0. So to see Undertaker's last match be against Reigns, that sucks. What else happened on the 25th? We had DX came out. Well, that was cool, right? DX came out, and they were kind of passing the torch to Finn and the club.
They had that Too Sweet thing carry over to the Bullet Club, right?
Right. But Balor Club, and they came out and passed it on to them. It'd be cool if him and he's on Raw, right? So him and AJ can't really, if they were to come back together and make the club again. I'm also hearing too that Kenny Omega's almost done in New Japan. I don't know if you saw, but they had the big breakup in New Japan where he got kicked out of the Bullet Club.
No, I don't follow it. I just saw that match he had with Jericho.
Jericho, yeah.
It looked like he was by himself. He didn't look like he was part of any stable.
Right. Yeah. So that like the whole storyline there is that they brought in Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes has been like weaseling his way to the top. Like kind of, he's the leader now.
Okay.
So he got bumped out of the Bullet Club. So I think this is his last year under contract. So I think that might be getting ready for him to come over. We'll see though. He's really happy in New Japan. I don't know, but that would be cool to see him and AJ and Finn and Anderson and Gallows. That'd be cool to see a Japan stable come in. And I also think Marty Scurll, they're trying to get him in there too. So we could see the full on. I mean, you can't call him Bullet Club because it's. I don't know if it's New Japan or what, but at least they have the club. But yeah, DX came out and we were talking about how Razor looks. He looks better than he did before. He can walk now and he can talk now, whereas before he was so overweight and injured and stuff that he was a mess. But him and X-Pac look really bad too. He's in good shape. He posts on Instagram. He's like ripped, but you can see he can't really move too well. Yeah, he did that Bronco Buster and it looked really bad. And then Road Dogg was fat. You can see his belly. But Billy Gunn always looks good. He takes care of himself.
He looks like he didn't age at all.
Nah. He's still huge. And it's funny too because I remember people saying that it doesn't seem like it, but Billy Gunn is huge. Like in real life, like that's a big dude, and you can see it. Like now that all the dudes are older, and he's still freaking big. I remember a year or two ago they had a match. It was the Outlaws against the Shield, and at the time that was when before they broke the Shield up, and Roman Reigns was like the powerhouse of the team, and him and Billy were wrestling. I was like, dude, Billy's just as big as Roman. Like he might even be bigger than Roman Reigns. And I was like, damn, that's a big guy. But yeah, it was cool to see them come out, and he had like Shawn Michaels crack that joke, right, where he used to be the leader, but now Triple H is the leader of everything.
Right.
Yeah. And then they had that match, right? It was the Revival came out and wrestled the club, and they got that was a bad idea because the crowd was so hyped for DX and the club that whoever they wrestle was gonna lose. So the Revival came in and just got squashed really quick, and then that was it. I think that closed out Raw.
Right.
So I was like, damn, that sucks. But then was that the Rumble? No, it was something recently where the Revival got one over on the club.
I don't remember. I think they had a pre-show match or something.
Something like that, yeah. And they went, and then so I was like, okay, they're not burying the Revival. It was just an odd situation where they had the crowd against them no matter what.
Well, maybe they just wanted to use them to build heat.
Yeah. But it was cool. Yeah, they had all the former women's champions came out, the former divas, which was cool to see them. But I kind of set it up that you kind of knew they were going to be there for the Rumble.
Right.
You know, they brought out like Trish and Michelle McCool and Kelly and Jacqueline. Brought them all out, and just to kind of acknowledge them in the crowd and stuff. So I was thinking, oh, okay, they're probably going to be in the women's Rumble because I don't think there's 30 women. I don't think they had enough to fill the Rumble.
Yeah.
And then you had two. You had Charlotte and Alexa weren't going to be in it, so they're already shorthanded. So I was like, okay, well, they're probably going to be in the Rumble.
Yeah, and Paige is out too, so that's one other.
Right? Yeah. Paige is hurt. Looks like she's hurt permanently now. So, I mean, it was a good idea. That was a good idea. So, the 25th anniversary was cool. Get to see those old guys again. The Dudleys came out, and they who they wrecked, the Ascension.
I don't remember.
Yeah, they wrecked somebody. It was pretty awesome to see them. And the thing is that I was telling Brian afterwards, man, that 3 hours, that's a long show.
Yeah,
that's freaking
how it is every single week.
Man, I was like, dude, I don't know. This is really long. I was like, towards the end of it, I was like, come on. And it was getting late. It was like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like this is every week. I don't know about this. Like when I was watching, it was only 2, and it was a good 2 hours, but 3 is a long time. And
that's the problem. Like they have so much talent on the roster, and it feels like even though they have 3 hours, they don't have enough time to showcase everybody. Sometimes it feels like the matches go on too long, like it goes for like 20 minutes to half an hour out of a 3-hour show. It's like you could have spent that time, writing and promoting other people, but they just keep it tight, like having these long matches to really focus on like a few star wrestlers. But yeah, so that can get kind of boring. So it's hard for me to just sit there and just like give it 100% attention.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I like about the NXT shows is they're only an hour, right?
Right, they're short.
They're short.
Sometimes they cut into a promo outside of the ring, and they'll go to a match, and it's a lot faster. It's a lot easier to absorb. You can just watch it, and then you can go on with your day or your evening or whatever. But yeah, with Raw, it's too much. And it's more than 3 hours, right? Because it goes past the third hour. They've kept that tradition from the Monday Night Wars where it runs past 11 o'clock to kind of get the last laugh kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's sometimes it is too long. So like I have a strategy now where I just watch the opening just to see how they kick off that show, and then come back at the top of every hour because that's usually
That's funny. No, yeah, I was just like, damn, this is. I mean, if it wasn't, good thing for that day they had a lot of stuff, right? Because they're bringing in all the old wrestlers, so that it jam packed the whole 3 hours. So there was always something happening, which was cool. But man, yeah, I was like, dude, this is long. And also cool to see they saw. I saw that they not putting over, but they're really pushing Elias. And on that Monday Night Raw, he got John Cena put him over. He attacked him with the guitar, and really, I was like, oh shoot, Cena's kind of not jobbing, but he's putting this guy over. Which Cena, that's kind of a knock on him, is he was not so much recently, but he was really bad at putting people over. He was always protective of his top spot, but I think now that he's starting to transition out, he's helping these guys. And Elias is a funny character. I actually like that character. I was like, this guy's pretty funny. He has the songs, and he's drifting in the background, and it's a good gimmick, and he's good too. He's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was be like, I'm like, how's this guy gonna get over the drifter? But now watch him, like, oh, you know what? He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's funny, right?
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
So it's hard to tell whether he's a face or a heel because like he comes out and he does like all these funny things, but then he'll like say something to draw heat from the crowd. So it's hard to tell, but I guess that works for him. Like he's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, it's a good character. I like him. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this guy. This guy's pretty good. So I didn't. So I watched the Raw 25th. I didn't watch the SmackDown that week. But I did. I mean, that was coming up to the Rumble. So, and then on Saturday is the NXT Takeover. You watched the whole thing, right? I didn't watch I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a couple matches, but man, every time I do watch NXT, it's good stuff. Like you were saying earlier, if you just want pure wrestling, good wrestling, watch that show. I watched the Authors of Pain against was it Undisputed Era? Was it Kyle O'Reilly and what's the other guy's name?
Bobby Fish.
Yeah, and that was a good match. Like, yeah, it was a good match. You had these two giants, and you're like, man, how are these guys gonna lose? But the other guys, they concentrated on one of the dudes. I forgot. I think it was his leg, and they both would attack his leg, and then he sold it really well. So as the match went on, he could barely stand, and that's how they won, was they got his leg. And I was like, dang, that's really good. These guys told a really good story, and it was exciting. Those guys are still so big that they were almost able to get a couple pinfalls and steal a match. And the other two dudes, even though they were small, they were using MMA moves and tagging in and out really quick. It was really good. I was like, I haven't seen a good tag match like that in a long time. Like, that was a good match. And the other match I watched was the Aleister Black and Adam Cole. Now they were killing each other in that match.
Yeah, I remember like when Adam Cole like turned the chairs both inward, where the seat rest was like pointed inward, and he got reversed and he ended up like getting flipped onto the chair. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like the two chairs they were flipped like inward where the seats were touching, but then he turned them around, and
I was like, good lord.
Yeah, and then he just ate that chair, ate that move. I'm like, oh man, like that looks super painful. So, but yeah, I think that was the match where like right before it started, they just pulled all the stuff out, right? Like they didn't even waste time. Yeah, like they're not even gonna like build up bring out all the weapons and stuff. They just went straight to it. So that was cool.
Yeah, it was. I've been trying to watch Aleister Black. I heard about him for a long time. His name was Tommy End in Europe, and there was a lot of hype around him. And then my cousin's husband, he's a professional wrestler. Well, he used to be. He retired, but he knew about him. He was friends with him, and he would talk to tell me about him all day. Hey, this dude Tommy End is badass. So I was kind of keeping an eye out, and then they brought him in as Aleister Black's, and I've been watching his matches. I watched his match against Velveteen Dream the other day too, and I was like, damn, this guy, yeah, he's good. And then I read a report that they might bring him into 205 Live, and I was like, no.
Yeah, I don't think he would work there. There's too many of those small, like high flyer type guys.
Yeah, and it's like, no, that division is not working. It didn't hold up steam like everyone thought it would. So.
Well, yeah, and then the whole thing with Enzo that made it worse.
Yeah, you have the whole thing with Enzo and Neville made Neville walk out, and then Enzo got fired anyway. And it's like, oh, such a mess. Is Neville going to come back? I've been reading that they've been talking to him, but they haven't been able to reach an agreement. So it's a mess. And I was like, man, don't put Aleister Black in 205 Live. That's a waste of it. He's a good wrestler. He can fit. He's not that small. He's not a small guy. He can fit in with the rest of the Raw division. So, or wherever, Raw or SmackDown. I would kind of hope he goes to SmackDown. That seems to be where the more technical wrestlers are. Mm-hmm. Him and AJ and Nakamura, Bobby Roode. He could put on matches with those guys. The Raw one is kind of seen where like the big monsters are at.
Yeah.
So hopefully if he does come in, SmackDown will be his home. But yeah, not 205 Live. And so I mean that's cool. NXT is a cool show to get. I would say check it out if you guys have WWE Network. They're good, and like I said, they're short. They're only an hour, so you can blast through them in a city, and it's just really good wrestling. And I was talking about how long the Raw show was, but that Rumble show, man, I sat down to watch the pre-show as well. Dude, it was like 5 hours.
Yeah, the pre-show itself is an hour.
I was sitting. I'm like, dude, I've been sitting here for 4. Like, holy crap! Because I think it started at 4 and ended at like 9:30. And I was like, God, this is, I don't know. When I was a kid, I don't know if I would have watched all of that. That's a lot, man. you have the pre-show, you have the NXT stuff, and then they get into the Rumble, and then this Rumble was super long because you had 2 Rumbles. Oh man, that was like, dude. I mean, it was a good show. I'm glad it was a good show, but dude, that's a long. And those people in the arenas, they gotta be exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, in the past it would just be one Rumble, the title matches, which is usually tag and the championship match, and that was it, right? Because the Rumble would take like an hour and a half, and then 2 matches, like they would go for like an hour each, so it would be like right under 3 hours, and that was it. But yeah, this one there's 2 Rumbles, like you said, they're all over an hour each, a little over an hour each, and then there's a bunch of these little matches, and then a pre-show. So yeah, it was pretty long. I mean, if you're a fan and you're into all of that stuff, then that's great, right? You get a lot of stuff out of it, get your money's worth. But yeah, it's pretty much takes up your entire day.
Yeah, my whole day, and I was like, man, I had it on, I was on my computer doing other stuff, and I just realized I was like, why did my butt hurt? Oh, I've been sitting here for 3 hours. But it was good. It was good. I saw the Bobby Roode. He had the U.S. title opener or invitational, and he went up against Mojo Rawley, and I was kind of disappointed at that. I was like, oh, this guy Mojo, what? I was hoping either a surprise guy or someone a little higher on the ladder, not Mojo.
Yeah, they've been trying to put him over since WrestleMania with Gronk coming out. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, so ever since then, like, they've been trying to plug him in, but I don't know, it's not sticking for some reason. I'm not a big fan of his, but yeah, they keep putting him out there to see if it works out with him, but I don't see any reaction from the crowd whether they like him or not. So I don't know. Maybe they'll give it a little bit more time with him and see what happens from there.
Yeah, I think he's a big guy. He's athletic. He played in the NFL, so I think they really want to push that, like a big athletic monster guy. But I mean, that gimmick is dumb. I don't even know what in his name, Mojo. You really can't push a guy.
Yeah, his gimmick was with that. He had the tag partner, but he turned on him.
Zack Ryder, right?
Ryder, yeah. Like, it's all like social media, like bros. Like that was the gimmick. And that's why they brought in Gronk for that match, because he fits that type of character. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's working very well. So
yeah, but they're gonna have. I mean, if they do like him, he's a big, athletic, strong guy. They're probably gonna repackage him.
Yeah.
Get a little more serious character. Zack Ryder is a fun character, but he's never gonna be a big time player. Like last year, WrestleMania, he won the Intercontinental Championship. They took it from him the next day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Mojo. Yeah, a good repackaging will probably save that guy. He's not bad. His wrestling's not bad. I'm like, yeah, he's all right. Maybe get rid of that football stuff. Like, he does like the shoulder charge and stuff, like Jim Duggan. That's old school, man. Get that out of there. He's athletic. Let him come up with some new stuff. So, I mean, that was a good match. Bobby Roode won, of course. I mean, there's no way he's losing to Mojo Rawley. And what else? What else was on the pre-show? Oh, I don't know if you saw this, but there was they were interviewing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Did you see that?
No.
And that dude from the announcer got Pete Rosenberg.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was trying to talk to them, and Kevin Owens kept ignoring him. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, and I guess that wasn't part of the show. Kevin Owens doesn't like that guy.
Okay.
Like, he legitimately doesn't like him. So every time he tried to talk to him, he's like, "Get out of here! Get out of here! Don't even ask. I'm not gonna answer any of your questions." And he was like getting flustered. He was like, "Oh, like guys, I'm trying to do my job." He's like, "No, Jerry, you ask me a question." And Jerry Lawler was like, "Oh, okay." And he started asking him questions, and it turns out that was a shoot. Like, Kevin Owens doesn't like that guy. He thinks he's an idiot. I guess the guy doesn't know much wrestling, like, outside of WWE. And so Kevin Owens really doesn't like he's not a wrestling guy. Like, he's just there for a job.
Yeah. So
him and Sami Zayn just blew him off hard. So I rewatched it, and I was like, oh, man, you can see that dude, like, his face was getting red, and he was getting all mad. And I was like, that's fucked up. Kevin Owens is a dick. But I mean, that's his character, right? He's just a dick, and it works for him. So yeah, that was pretty funny. And then they interviewed Jerry Lawler after, and he was like, oh yeah, I didn't know they were gonna do that. I had to jump in because they were totally just stonewalling that guy. And I was like, that's messed up. So anyway, that was cool. That was funny. I don't remember what else they had on the pre-match or the pre-show. But anyway, I remember sitting there and waiting. Finally, the show started. The Rumble started. Well, the Rumble wasn't the first thing, right? There was a match before.
Yeah. Yeah, if you asked me what the order was, I can't remember. Yeah, there were a few matches like before, and then they went to the men's Rumble, and then there was like a match or two after that before they started.
Yeah.
The men's Rumble.
Yeah. I don't remember the match, whatever it was, but the men's Rumble was good. That was a good Rumble. I liked how they used a lot of a lot of times they bring in a surprise guest, and sometimes they do too much, like 5 or 6 surprise old guys. They come in and they get tossed real quick, right? So it's kind of a waste. And they didn't do that this year. They only had the one throwaway, which was Gregory Helms, the Hurricane.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. He came in, but his gut was huge. I was like, whoa, I never seen him like that. He couldn't do anything. They brought him in, and he just kept throwing striking his pose. And then I think Cena tossed him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he tossed him. Then he just kept doing his pose, and everyone was going crazy for it. And then he ran out. So that was pretty funny.
I think he almost slipped on the pancakes too.
He did. Yeah. The New Day pancakes. Yep. That was pretty funny. And the other surprise entrant was Mysterio. And man, we were both talking about he looked good. Like that dude was shredded. Yeah. He was getting pudgy towards the end of his wrestling. I mean, his run with WWE, and then I saw him a couple of times in Lucha Underground, and he had a belly and stuff. But he came in just ripped up, and I was like, holy crap! And he put on a good showing too. He was in for a long time.
Yeah, I had to look closely to see if that was really him or some other guy like posing as him. But I think that's him.
Yeah, and I've been reading beforehand that there was a possibility of him coming back, but I guess right now they're trying to work out. He doesn't want to be a full time, because of his age, right? He's like 42, 43.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be full time anymore, but they want him to be full time, so they're trying to work that out right now. But if he looks as good as he did then, man, I hope they get him. Even if it is part time. He was. What's up?
Where do you think they'll put him? Like my first guess is like they'll put him at 205 just because they need a name to.
Right. Yeah, they need to help that. I think he's too. I think even he would be like, nah. Yeah. SmackDown. I think he can fit in with those guys over there. That's if they sign him. I hope they do. I hope he's always been a good wrestler and stuff, and he looked great. So I'm like, oh shoot. And he made it. He made it to the final 6, which was pretty good. And I really like what they did when they had the last guys because a lot of times they'll have the last guys. You can kind of tell who's gonna win. You can be like, well, Cena's gonna win or Roman's gonna win. But this time, you really couldn't. So when it got down to the final 6, well, I knew Ray wasn't gonna win. But they had that cool face-off where you had the older guys facing off with the younger guys. You had Reigns, Finn, and Shinsuke on one side. And then they're squaring up with Randy, Cena, and Mysterio on the other side. And that was just a cool, like, oh man, that's cool. You see them like siding off against each other and their crowd's going crazy. And then they all started fighting each other. Right there, I was like, okay, Ray's not going to win. Randy's not going to win because he just won last year. And he really he wasn't very impressive with his run. So those dudes got tossed. And then when it got to the final 4, like I really didn't know who was going to win. You had Finn, Shinsuke, Roman, and Cena, and I was like, I can see any 4 of them winning. But what did you think? Did you think the same thing, or you kind of had an idea?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I was more towards like, oh man, here we go again. They're gonna push Cena again or push Roman again, for WrestleMania. Like we're gonna have to put up with that crap for another 2 or 3 months, and because like I think that was what the crowd was like really afraid of too, right? Because like Finn had a chance, but it didn't look likely, right?
Right. Yeah, because it
just looked like it's going to be down to those 2 guys again, and one of those guys would win, and the whole place would just like.
Yeah, I was worried because I was like, okay, Finn. I can see Finn maybe because he had that Universal win, then he got hurt, so he never really got a fair chance to have a title run, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I can see that. But I know Vince has been, he doesn't like the small guys winning the belt, and then Finn got hurt. So it kind of proved Vince right. Right. So I was like, maybe. So I put him at the least. No, I take that back. I put Shinsuke at the least. I was like, he's not going to, I was like, maybe Shinsuke, because he really hasn't had that moment yet. They brought him in. They came out to SmackDown, and his run hasn't been that, like he hasn't done anything.
Right.
So I was like, maybe Shinsuke because of that. But I was like, nah, I don't know. I don't know if they want him going against, like, Lesnar. And I was like, nah. And then so I was like, okay, maybe Finn has a better chance because he lost his belt due to injury. But I was like, Roman's fucking gonna win this thing. And I was like, Roman's gonna win because I know they want him to, like, it's kind of like the worst kept secret. Everyone knows he's gonna beat Brock.
Yeah, and I was telling you before the Rumble that he was the Intercontinental Champion or something like that, or US, one of the two, and he dropped it to the Miz. So I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. They're prepping him up again for the for the match to win the Rumble and headline WrestleMania again. And like, like I saw that coming. And then when I saw it down to them 4, then I felt even more confident that was the direction they were headed. So yeah, it was a good thing it didn't end that way. So maybe they knew that that's the reaction.
Yeah,
from us.
They're like they know. Yeah, they're just messing with us. They're like, if Roman wins, the crowd's gonna hate us. And then Cena, I was like, I can see Cena winning because they want to do a big thing with Cena, either Undertaker. I knew he wasn't gonna wrestle Brock. They would have done that, but something else at Mania. Either he gets Undertaker, and maybe Undertaker beats AJ for the belt. Something will happen where he has something big at Mania. So I was like, man, this is gonna be Roman or Cena. I'm gonna be pissed. And then when they tossed Finn, I was like, oh, no way, Shinsuke. There's no way it's gonna be fucking Roman. And I was already like, oh, like I was already raging on my desk. Did he go first or Cena?
I can't remember.
Oh, no, you know what? It was Cena. Cena went first. They tossed Cena, and I was like, God damn it. It's going to be Roman and freaking Shinsuke. And no, they didn't. Shinsuke won, and I was like, oh, man, Like, 1, I was relieved. I was super relieved. But 2, I thought it kind of gave, because, like, the Rumble is supposed to be anyone can win it, right?
Right.
But they don't. It's always the top guys. So this kind of got back to that. Like, no, look, anyone can. Shinsuke, he's a fan favorite, but he's not really one of the top guys. He hasn't done anything super important yet. And he won. So I was like, that's cool. I think that's cool. It wasn't one of the favorites going in, and it was a guy that the fans love, and now they're giving him his shot, So I was super happy with the result. I was like, this is good. This is a good Rumble. I'm 2 thumbs up already.
Yeah. I wanted to point out that I think this is the first time where the winner gets to choose which belt they want. Because back then, if you were on Raw and you won, you automatically get the title shot against the Raw champion.
Oh, okay.
So now, like, they have it so that you can choose which one you want. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and that's a good way to expand, like, more possibilities, as we'll get into the women's Rumble
right
they're on. But so I thought that was cool. I mean, I was like expecting him to say Brock just for laughs, he would just get destroyed.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I mean, it's good that he chose AJ. Like, that's going to be a good match.
That's gonna be that has match of the year written all over it.
Right.
Yeah, and the crowd too. When they're like, "Who do you pick?" and the crowd was like, "AJ." And he kind of looked around and kind of played it up, and he was like, "Yeah, AJ." And the crowd went nuts. So that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be a good. It won't be the main event. Brock will be the main event, but that'll be a good title match at WrestleMania. And then the next match was the. It's funny because neither of us watched it. It was the tag team title, Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan against the Bar. Cesaro and Sheamus. And at this point, I'd already been watching for hours, and I was like, I need to get up. And I got up and I walked away. I didn't care. I came back and I was like, whatever. I actually walked away too long though, and I missed the Brock match. I didn't realize it would be so short. So I watched it again. I watched that afterwards. I watched it today, and that was just. I mean, it was cool. I like the build up to that match. Right? They were typing it as like a Godzilla movie. And during the match, like, they were really like, oh man, it's like I'm watching Pacific Rim right now, just 3 monsters, and then like I think Braun Strowman got a table, and then they were like, "Who gave Godzilla a machine gun? This is ridiculous," and they were really selling it as just these three monsters, and you had the OG monster Kane, the current monster Brock, and the future monster Braun. So it was really cool. I like the story build up. I knew the match wasn't going to be anything great, and it wasn't. It wasn't. There wasn't any technical wrestling. It was just these guys just like, Braun grabs Kane, bam, slams him through the table. Then Brock grabs Braun, bam, slams him through the table. Kane gets up, and he gets Brock, and he slams him through. That's all it was. It was back and forth, back and forth. It wasn't very long. I don't even know if it was 10 minutes. And everyone knew going in that Kane was going to take the pin, right? You knew that right away.
Right. Either that or the pin would happen. Like, they would put Braun over, he would pin Kane, and like Brock wouldn't be in the decision. So that was the other outcome that I was expecting. So for Brock to lose the belt and then kind of have to win it back at WrestleMania.
Really, yeah.
But it makes sense for him to retain and then drop it at WrestleMania, because I heard that his contract expires after WrestleMania. So I don't know what he's going to do after April or after the Mania. So
yeah, it's kind of opened up.
Yeah.
Dana White from the UFC has said that they're going to talk to him again. Maybe try to get him back into fighting and stuff. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, and it's still, I mean, I really don't want it to be Brock and Roman, but it's probably going to happen. Yeah. They did kind of leave it open in that after the match, Braun got in the ring because, Brock hits the F5 on Kane and he pins him and walks out. And then Braun got up in the ring and was yelling at him, "You didn't pin me. You didn't beat me. You didn't pin me." So I'm like, well, maybe they can keep that open, to Braun could, that could be the story, right? You didn't beat me. You beat Kane. You didn't beat me.
Yeah, but they've had a match before and Brock he beat him. So,
yeah. So I'm like, it's gonna be freaking Brock and Roman.
Yeah. But then Brock's already beaten Roman like 2 years ago too.
Yeah.
So they have to do something different. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but they have to take a different angle. So this past week on Raw, what they did was to promote the next pay-per-view, which is Elimination Chamber. The winner of that gets to face Brock at WrestleMania. So
okay.
we still don't know who the six are. I mean, we only know three of them. So the winner of that, I mean, I don't know how they're going to spin it after that. But
who the three that are in already?
Elias, Cena, and no, actually, I have to look that up. Man, I can't remember. My memory is so bad right now. Yeah, so the three so far is Braun, Strowman, Elias, and John Cena. So they're gonna have the other three qualifiers next week. So then we'll know who the six are, and the winner gets Brock afterwards.
Okay, I was telling you about this before, but I was watching it closely, and at the beginning of the match, there's a sequence where Braun is destroying both Brock and Kane. Mm-hmm. And he's like smashes one, he slams one in the corner, slams the other in the corner, and he was going back and forth, and then he like choke slam Kane, then he grabs Brock and starts wailing on him, and he knees him, and he knees Brock right in the face. You can see it. He just and you can see Brock kind of like stumble a little, and then he gets up, and then Brock just gives him an uppercut, boom, then he hits him with a right, boom, right in the temple, and Braun just drops to his knees. He just boom, you can see him like he dazed him, right? And then Brock picks him up and he yells, "Slow the fuck down." And then kind of like him and Braun just kind of start wrestling a little bit. So I guess Braun got a little excited.
Yeah.
And Brock just, and then they kept showing it they're like, "Oh, look at this knee by Braun. Look at this punch by Brock. Oh, these monsters are going at it." And I'm like, dude, no, that was Brock, like, putting his foot down. Like, you gotta be careful, dude.
Right.
I mean, those are big. I mean, especially those three. Those are some big, strong guys. They can hurt each other really bad.
Yeah.
And Braun hit him with that knee, and Brock just. I mean, that just goes to show how bad of a dude Brock is. Like, Braun is 6'9", almost 400 pounds, and Brock just laid him out. He hit him with that right. He dropped him. And I was like, holy crap! Like, I mean, I know Brock's legit, but damn, he freaking. Like, but you can see Braun like, oh, okay. Like, sorry about that.
Yeah, I hear. I mean, I've never gotten in the ring before, but I hear like that's how, like, when one person kind of goes overboard, the other guy would hit him back really hard. just to let them know, like, hey, like you gotta chill out a little bit, or kind of just get back at them too.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it's happened a lot. I remember back in the day, Ken Shamrock had a cage match with Mr. Hughes, and Jericho was the special referee, and Mr. Hughes laid into Shamrock, and Shamrock just freaking took him down, boom, down the back, and just started wailing on him. And I remember watching it like, oh shit, he was just wailing on Mr. Hughes. And at the time, Ken Shamrock was like 250 on roids. And then Chris Jericho just jumped in there and he grabbed Ken and he pushed him back, and he was still in character, right, as a referee, like, hey, get back in your corner. But I know afterwards, in the later years, because that was so long ago, it was almost 20 years ago, in a later interview, Jericho said that, yeah, he thought Ken was going to kill him. He was like, because Mr. Hughes is a big, strong guy, but Ken Shamrock was, UFC champion, and that dude knew what's up, and Jericho said he got really scared. He had to save that guy. So it happens. And then of course, Bob Holly was known for doing that. Like if a guy was stepping out of line, he would just wreck him in the ring. One of the famous times that happened was Rene Dupree. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was super young, like 23, and he was labeled as the future of the WWE. Vince loved that guy. And he was big, and he was ripped, and he was athletic, and Vince was like, that's the future, and it went right to his head. And I remember people saying that he became a dick, like, I mean, Corey, you're 23 years old, right? You think you're the shit. And he no-showed an event or something. So at a house show, he wrestled Bob Holly, and Bob Holly just beat the shit out of him. And the next night on Raw, when Rene Dupree came out, he had a huge black eye. And they were like, oh, something must have happened to Rene Dupree. And he went on with his match, and they're like, no, Bob Holly kicked the shit out of him. So they had that match, and then it was not long, 10 minutes. It was these guys, it was all those guys slamming each other, and then they went on the outside, and Brock put him through both the announce tables and worked the way back in the ring, and he ends up F5ing Kane on a chair, and he pins Kane. So Brock at WrestleMania, most likely against Roman. And then after that was the women's Royal Rumble. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought they did a good job. What do you think, Brian? It was pretty good, right?
Yeah, I liked it. So I just wanted to say something about the whole women's revolution thing the past couple of years. So I think that it all started because of the popularity at with UFC, right, with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And before they were labeled as divas, and the wrestling wasn't entertaining. Those are the matches you would take a restroom break or walk away from, or change the channel or whatever. I mean, unless you like to see girls pulling hairs and stuff, and they would have matches like bra and panties, like really gimmicky type matches to exploit the women, right? And then after the whole UFC thing with Ronda Rousey, I think that's when they realized they need to take it more seriously, and you can actually get a lot of bring in another audience, right? Bring in the women audience into watching wrestling, and they've done a great job at doing that the past 2 years. A lot of the female wrestlers now, they're more legit wrestlers. They've gone through training and everything, and they're not just pretty, with a cheerleading background, with no wrestling background at all, and all that stuff. I mean, they still bring in cheerleaders who become wrestlers, but they got to go through the training. Whereas before, they just come out and just pull hair, and the matches would be 5 minutes long, really stupid stuff. And then I think it was last year's Mania where Steph said telling the women you guys are no longer divas, you guys are WWE superstars. So
yeah,
they're at the same level as the men's now, right? Which is cool. And they've done a lot to bring in people that are pretty good wrestlers. Sasha Banks, I think, is pretty good. Bayley, outside of her gimmick, which I really don't like, she knows how to wrestle, and then Becky Lynch, and there's a lot of good ones, so they're headed in the right direction. And I thought it was really cool that they brought in a second Rumble just for the women. But then they mentioned Beth Phoenix. I don't know if you remember, she was in the men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and she eliminated Khali.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically, she's the first one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good throwback. They brought in, like you mentioned earlier, some of the ones that they brought back on Raw, they showed up for, they jumped in a Rumble really quick because it's still so new. Like they can't go too far back where they can bring in people, and they currently don't have enough women wrestlers that are big name to throw in a Rumble. So yeah, it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, what's cool? It was cool is that those classic wrestlers, they didn't job. Like they were in there and they did well. They were eliminating, other girls. I mean, you couldn't have them do too well because they're not active, but
yeah,
they gave them their due. Like Michelle McCool came in, she threw out like 2 or 3 people. Molly Holly, Tori Wilson, Trish, like they came in and made them look really strong.
Right.
Other than Kelly, but she can't wrestle.
Right, she just really pretty face.
Yeah, she's one of the.
Yeah, she can't wrestle.
Yeah, she was one of those. It was funny because I read an article a few years ago that Trish Stratus kind of ruined things, in that she was a fitness model with no wrestling background. They brought her in, but she developed into a great wrestler, and they kept trying to repeat that process.
Yeah.
And they were like, get the fitness model, get the cheerleader, and they didn't work. They couldn't wrestle, and Kelly was one of them. So she came in, and yeah, she was the only one that really didn't look strong. But I mean, I don't think anyone expected that. They're, when they saw her, it's like, okay, she'll just be in it for a little bit. And sure enough, I don't know if she eliminated anybody, but she wasn't in very long. But the other ones did. And then there was that funny part where Trish, because everyone loves Trish, where Nia Jax like slammed her, and all the other wrestlers jumped on her. They're like, what? And they all jumped on her. They started beating up on her and stuff. That was pretty good. They're like, how dare you touch Trish? Like, that was funny. And they made Nia Jax look really strong too. Like it took like 8 or 9 wrestlers to throw her over.
Right.
So I mean, she got eliminated, but she still looked really strong. But yeah, you mentioned this one of the last 3, when it was the Bellas and Asuka, you knew she was gonna win.
Right.
Because the Bellas they're not that active, right? Was it Brie Bella had a baby?
Yep.
And
the other one has a neck injury.
A neck injury, yeah. So they're not that active yet. So you're like, well, Asuka's gonna win because the other 2, even though they're super super popular, they're not full on participants yet. So that kind of I don't want to say ruined it, but like the suspense wasn't there. But it was still exciting to see how are they gonna eliminate her? How is Asuka gonna eliminate both of them? And then I think Nikki knocked out Brie.
Right.
And then Asuka eliminated her. So it was still good. It was still good storytelling. And then afterwards, Asuka wins. And it makes sense for her to win because that's her whole gimmick, right? Is that she's like unbeatable.
Right, yep.
They kept her, when she came in from NXT, they kept that going, that she's just this monster and no one can touch her. So her winning makes sense. And then you have the big moment, right, where she's in the ring. She's going to decide Charlotte or Alexa, which one. And then your favorite MMA fighter, Ronda Rousey, debuts. Which again, that wasn't that shocking. Like all week people were asking her, are you gonna go to the Rumble? And she was like, no, I haven't signed it. And no one believed her, right? Everyone was like, okay. And she's like, no, we were talking but no contract, blah blah blah. And everyone was like, yeah, whatever. No one believed her for a second. And sure enough, she debuted. So all she did was come out and she got in the ring, got in everyone's faces and pointed to the WrestleMania sign and then just left. So she's going to be at WrestleMania, going to wrestle one of the champions. So it depends on who Asuka chooses, and then she'll get the other one. I'm still not sure who they're going to match up against. I have a feeling Asuka's going to go against Alexa and Ronda is going to go against Charlotte.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Do you think like Ronda's ready to hold a 20-minute match, 15-20-minute match?
No, you know what? No, I take that back. I take that back. I saw something that they're going to do a tag.
Right.
Yeah, her and The Rock.
Yeah, with The Rock. I don't know who the opponents are going to be.
Yeah, her and The Rock against whoever. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, never mind. She's not. Yeah, there's no way she's ready to do a headline a main event WrestleMania. She's a great athlete, so I'm probably not going to take her that long. But still, WrestleMania is what, next month?
Yeah.
So it's not long enough. She just got her contract signed and stuff. So. It was cool. It was cool to see. Like I was like, oh shit! All right, yeah, I expected her to show up, but to actually see her do it, was kind of cool. Kind of threw a wrench. And I don't know if you read this, but in the IGN write up, the guy he didn't like that she debuted right there, in that because it kind of stomped on Asuka's win a little. Like it's the first women's Royal Rumble, that should be a huge deal, and maybe she should have debuted on Raw.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That does make, because everyone was talking about Ronda. They weren't talking about Asuka. They should have been talking about Asuka. So I was like, okay, I guess. That's a little nitpicky, but it makes sense. I don't really care either way. So I didn't watch the post-Raw. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they just recapped, pretty much what happened at the Rumble. And then they kind of tease you to watch a commercial break by mentioning Ronda, like, after the break. But they ended up just showing a recap. But yeah, I mean, so they've already moved on to the next pay-per-view. But they didn't really mention anything about Ronda too much other than recapping what happened the night before.
And was there any other big announcements made on Raw, or was it just kind of dealing with the fallout?
It was more of the fallout.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing new.
Neither of us watched SmackDown, so I don't know what went down on SmackDown either. But I think right now it's kind of like it's not the dead season, but it's kind of slow because everyone's just waiting for Mania now.
Right. Yeah, more of just like building up storylines, pretty much.
Yeah, you have the Elimination Chamber to see who's gonna fight Brock and all that stuff. But everything's kind of not everything's kind of set, but the main parts are set. Right. We have the Rumble winner, and Ronda's gonna be there, and AJ versus Shinsuke, and whatever. So the main stuff's there. The big thing, I guess, would be Undertaker, right? What's he gonna do?
And then whether or not The Rock's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
He always comes back.
Yeah, he's down. He always comes back.
Even if he's there just to talk for a few minutes, he always makes an appearance.
The match I always, well, not just me, but everyone wanted to see was Undertaker and Sting, and it was too bad Sting got messed up. Yeah, I think that match against Seth Rollins, he jacked up his neck and he had to retire. And I was like, oh man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when he debuted in that Mania, right, and he had the match against Triple H.
Yeah.
And he lost, and it was kind of like a WCW versus WWF thing.
Right.
You have DX, and then NWO came out and stuff, and WWF won. He had a match with Seth Rollins. I don't know if it was a pay-per-view or something, but Seth Rollins did something, and it hurt Sting's neck, and that was it. Doctor said you're not wrestling anymore, so he stopped. He talked about it, and he said that that was the plan, was him versus Undertaker at the next WrestleMania.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, it would have been really cool, but because it would have been like, oh, who's gonna win? Someone's got to go down. You don't know. It would have been good back and forth, and who knows what could have happened, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, he said that would have been his. He still wishes. He said if he could come back, he wishes he can come back and do Taker, but he can't. His neck is messed up, and he's already 51 or something like that. So it's not like he's like, oh, I can push through it. Like, nah, that's it. So we'll see what the Undertaker does. I don't know. I really don't know who would be a good matchup for him. Maybe they do a Triple H, like a one last time or something like that. But other than that, I don't really know who on the current roster would be a good fit. I mean, other than the Cena, him and Cena is obvious, but I think it's gonna be Cena and Elias.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. I can't tell either. I mean, it could be Triple H. I don't. That one makes the most sense, but we've seen that already.
Yeah, we've already seen it, and I don't know what else to do. Like I said, there's Kane, but no one wants to see that either. Kane, right. I mean, you can see in his last match, he's old too, and he can't really move too well, and he's out of shape. That wouldn't be a good match. And his old foe was Mick Foley, but Foley hasn't wrestled in years. I don't think he's coming back for a match anytime soon.
No, he's done.
Yeah.
He was not in wrestling shape to begin with.
Yeah. That dude made a career being in the worst shape. But he would get messed up. He made a whole career out of it. He's one of the best wrestlers ever.
Yeah, so I just want to add something really quick on 205. Because of the whole Enzo thing, they brought in a new GM, Drake Maverick. I've never heard of the guy before, but people were chanting Spud.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know who he is.
I think that was his character, Rockstar Spud.
Okay.
But I don't know where he wrestled. I don't know. I have no idea who this guy is. I was like, I thought it would be like, oh, someone cool, right? Maybe Rey Mysterio.
Right.
Drake Maverick. And I was like, huh?
Yeah, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, they don't usually do that, right? Like, just bring someone who most mainstream people have never heard of. Usually they'll at least bring someone in that people have seen before.
Yeah, someone right?
Yeah.
But there was just some guy, and I was like, I heard he might have been in the Cruiserweight Challenge.
Okay.
But I mean, there was 32 guys, so.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty like underwhelming. I was like, oh.
Yeah, my guess was Lita, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Another thing too is we saw a couple guys signed to NXT, the tag team War Machine, and there's someone else. Oh, Ricochet. I don't know if you've seen Ricochet.
I haven't, but my friend has.
Yeah, that guy's really good.
He was at his last match, his last indie match before he left for NXT or WWE or whatever.
Oh, he was at the Lucha Underground match?
Yeah.
Oh man, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
He had 2 matches back to back, and they were. I mean, for his style, he's a super high flyer. That guy can do incredible things. I mean, to him to put on 2 high level matches like that back to back with his style, I was like, oh my god, this guy is amazing.
Was that because that was his going away match thing?
Yeah, that was his last match, and so he went for the title. He won the title, and then another dude kind of had a Money in the Bank type thing. And he cashed it in, and then he had to wrestle that guy, and then he dropped the title.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so it was. I mean, they were sick matches. Both matches were sick. Against 2 totally different guys. I was like, damn, this guy's good. And they signed him, and then they also signed EC3, who was one of the biggest TNA guys for a while. He was the champ there for a long time, and he had a gimmick too where he was undefeated, like he never got pinned for like 2 years or something. And what's interesting about him was that he was in WWE before. He was in the Florida Championship Wrestling, and then that became NXT. And it just wasn't clicking for him there, so they let him go. And then he went to TNA and developed this EC3 character, and then boom, just blew up. And so it was like one of those guys that got away type thing. Yeah. And everyone was like, he's gotta go back. Sure enough, he's back. So and then TNA, like that company is always on the brink of going down. So he's back. It was almost like Adam Cole, right? They let him go.
Right.
Then he became a huge star in Europe and stuff, and now he's back. So he kind of doing something like that. So, and then War Machine, I've never seen. I've heard about them, but I've never seen them. I don't know if they're good or not. So yeah, some good young talent coming. Keep it going. I really like that guy, Velveteen Dream. That guy's good.
Yeah.
You were telling me about him, how athletic he is. He has a basketball player's build where he's super athletic, has real long arms.
Yeah.
He does that Macho Man elbow drop from the top rope. He can reach anywhere on the ring. I was like, damn, that dude can just land on it. That's cool. So he has a cool character that it's kind of like Prince.
Right.
Has this cool character and stuff. He's super arrogant. So I think that guy. I think him and Aleister Black are going to be coming up pretty soon. And then because I think Adam Cole, since he just came back, he might be down there a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, he can build up that, his stable with Undisputed Era, and before they carry that over to WWE. I mean, like Raw or SmackDown. Or
right.
Yeah, NXT is missing. Well, I mean, it feels like they're missing some talent right now, like some new guys that they need to bring up. So maybe they'll stay on for a few more months before they move them up. Yeah,
because they Bobby Roode just came up.
And then Ty Dillinger, that
Ty Dillinger and Revival.
Right.
They just come up, so they need a couple more dudes. So getting these guys are pretty good. Ricochet, I'm excited to see that guy.
Yeah.
Wait you see him, man. That guy's good.
Okay. Yeah, I've never seen him before, so just so that my friend says he's awesome. So.
Yeah. I mean, he did stuff I've never seen before. I was like, holy shit, like that's not possible, but he was doing it. So, yeah, I'm excited to see that guy. But yeah, the wrestling recently, the last few years, has kind of on the upswing, I think. I think a lot of it has to do, too, with Ring of Honor and New Japan have both really, really stepped up. And they're both on TV now. And I think that's kind of forcing WWE to be like, oh, shoot, there's competition now. And we need and if you watch those shows, it's pure wrestling. It's like NXT, pure wrestling. I mean, they have storylines, but it's all about the wrestling, and the wrestling's good. And I think WWE, Triple H has seen that, and he's the one that's implementing it. Yeah, I think New Japan's on Friday nights on Access TV. Not sure where Ring of Honor is being showed. I know it is showed on TV. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure where. It might even be Access TV as well. But you have dudes like Cody Rhodes who left and became a bigger star. And I think WWE's seeing that. Like, a lot of these guys are like, hey, we don't need WWE. I can go to New Japan. I can go to Ring of Honor. Even the Hardys, they went to Ring of Honor for a little bit. before they came back. It's not just Impact anymore. Impact was there, but who cares about Impact, right?
Yep.
They had some guys, but every time a WWE guy went there, it was more like the reject, right?
Right.
Like they're old, right? Guys like Ken Kennedy, or the Dudleys. They're old. A couple like Christian went there and he built himself up at TNA.
Yeah, and then he came back.
So it did work with some guys, but for a lot of times it was just like, it's just the rejects, whatever. But now you're seeing guys like I said, like Cody, who left. He went to New Japan and Ring of Honor, joined the Bullet Club, and his stock. He said he's making more money now than he ever did in WWE. And now he can. I see him coming back eventually. He's getting to be too big right now to not be in WWE. So I think they'll bring him back, but he'll be more established. Then you have dudes like Kenny Omega, who's a superstar in Japan, and he's like, every time they ask him about it, he's always indifferent. Like, I don't know. Maybe like because he has full creative control of his character. He's the main event guy, so he's getting paid a lot, and he's kind of like, why would I want to go to WWE where Vince calls the shots and I'm not the top guy? I have to work my way up. Like, I'm good over here. So I think that competition's helping the WWE format, where they're getting away from the goofy, silly storylines that was going on during the PG era, like just really dumb stuff, and starting to focus on wrestling and getting these wrestlers who aren't huge, right? They're not. I mean, I think they hit jackpot with Braun, but they're bringing in these giant guys, and no one really cared, right? Because they couldn't wrestle. But now you're getting guys like Finn Balor, Shinsuke, AJ Styles, guys who can really wrestle and they're smaller. I think that's what's really helping the product, I guess. Because now I put on wrestling and I'm like, oh, I can watch this. This is cool. Whereas 5-6 years ago, I just couldn't watch it. It was just so bad. And we told that story, right, about Khan, how we went to that wrestling panel.
Yeah. No. Well, we haven't told it here. But
yeah.
If you want to go, yeah, you can tell it.
Yeah. So this was I think 2014, right? Was it your last con?
Yeah. It was 2014.
Yeah. We didn't. It was Thursday. It was early. We really didn't have anything planned, right? We just like, you guys went and grabbed your badges and stuff. Yep. And it was like,
Yeah, we went to preview night to get our badges, and then Thursday morning we didn't really have anything to see, right?
Yeah, and we
started really.
Yeah, the con had just started. There wasn't anything. We were just looking at the panels, and there was the WWE the action figure.
Right, the Mattel.
The Mattel, and we're like, Hulk Hogan. They said Hulk Hogan will be here, and we're like, hey, Hulk Hogan. All right, cool, fuck it, let's just go. And it ended up being a really dope panel. I'm glad we went. They had Hogan was there, and Michael Cole and Paul Heyman. Was there someone else? There was someone else, right?
Daniel Bryan, was he there?
Yeah, it was Daniel Bryan.
Bryan was there too. Yeah. So like everyone in the crowd was pretty much like wrestling fans, which was funny, right? Like, so a typical wrestling fan, they'll all do the chant and all that stuff. And one guy asked Hogan to like role play as if he was being interviewed, and then he always pretend like he was being interviewed by Mean Gene.
Mean Gene, really yeah, he busted it out like nothing. They were like, I think it was a pull a promo against Brock Lesnar, and he did it like, I mean, he just went, Mean Gene, and just cut a sick promo like just on the spot. It was dope. And then Michael Cole kept saying
right,
$9.99. Yeah. And even he was laughing about it, like, I know. So he was making fun of himself. That was funny. But
yeah, so at the end of that, there were the Mattel guys were showing all the new toys coming up, and one of them was Sting, right?
Yeah.
And then after they announced the toy, then I think they started playing his music, and then he shows up, and we were like, oh shit, like it's Sting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, they were like, oh, this is the first time we've ever done a Sting figure. Here it is. And they show the picture. And I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Right? Yeah. It was like a PowerPoint slide.
Yeah.
Different angles of the toy.
Yeah, and they were playing his music. And then remember that his music was, they kept playing.
Yeah, and there was like this silence.
Yeah, we're like, what's
this music? And yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what? And then they were just kind of sitting there. Michael Cole, they weren't saying anything. They were just kind of sitting there. I'm like, what are they doing? And then bam, he came out, and I was like, ho. Then it was his first ever public appearance with WWE. And I was like, that's pretty dope. I was there. You know, even though his run only lasted like a year or so, you know, that was cool. It was totally unexpected. We just went just to kill time. We didn't really know what we were doing, and that ended up being a huge deal. So I was texting everybody, I just saw Sting.
Well, yeah, and I almost didn't get in, remember? Like, I was with Jesse, who's not on the pod tonight, but we were left. I don't know what happened, but you guys got in first, and me and Jesse were left outside.
No, you know what it was? You guys did have to go get your badges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and then I was like, you know what? Because I already had mine.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'll go there and I'll get my seats. I'll get the seats for us. And you guys were like, cool. But then you guys got lost on the way back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, this is, I was texting you guys. Hey, it's getting kind of full, guys. And I was like, you know, I think the panel started at 10. And it was creeping up. I'm like, it's getting, you guys are good. There's still seats, but it's getting full. And you guys are like, oh, we're on the way. We got lost. And then you guys got there, got in line. And then at 10, when the panel starts, that's when they close the doors. They still let people in, but the doors close.
Yeah, they were counting seats, like how many available seats there were. And there was a guy outside, like, holding the line. Like, it was like we were at a nightclub or something.
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, there's one seat open. And it was me and Jesse in front. And I'm like, I'll go, you know.
Yeah.
Just ditched Jesse and left him outside.
He was all mad. He was texting me, fucking Brian left me out here.
So I got in, and then, like, I think 10 minutes later, 10, 15 minutes later, like, they found another open seat, so they let him in. Yeah.
So. And I remember texting you guys. Yeah, I mean, I was like, there's seats in here. You're going to get in. There's seats. Don't worry about it. But Jesse was already like, I'm going to go find something else. And
hey, I'll do it again.
Yeah, do it again, man. Every man for himself at Comic-Con. You don't look around. You don't miss nothing. Yeah, that was fun. That was a good con that year. But yeah, I think we got everything for our first Rumble. Our first WWE podcast. We'll probably do another one, right? Let's do a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We'll do a WrestleMania post-Mania Rumble next month. I mean, not Rumble. I keep saying Rumble. Post-Mania podcast. See what happens. See who Brock ends up wrestling if he loses to Roman, which it's gonna happen, but I don't want it to. And
yeah,
then,
they've tried to, like, get the fans to kind of like him again by reuniting the Shield. So he's kind of winning some fans over, but anytime he's by himself, then they start booing him again.
Yeah.
So, it's slowly working. They just need to keep at it. I mean, I don't like him, so
yeah, they should never have broken up the Shield,
right?
And pushed him like that. Like Vince pushed him to the moon because he sees him as the next Rock, right?
Right.
But the dude has no charisma. I mean, he's a decent wrestler. His matches are fine. But he has no charisma. The dude can't talk on the mic. Anything he does say is dumb. Like believe that.
Yeah.
Like what? It's just the dumbest shit. So.
But the funny thing was when he was with the Shield, like he was the most popular one.
Yeah, he was the most popular one. I think because he's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And I think Seth Rollins was the mouthpiece, right? He was the one talking all the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Rollins talking, and you had Roman, who was the big strong guy, and you had Dean, who was the crazy guy. So it worked. But then when you pushed Roman to the moon, and he wasn't ready, so now the fans are like, just screw this guy.
And the other thing was, like, he had an injury, and he was gone for like 6 or 7 months. And the first thing he did when he came back was, like, get a title shot.
Yeah, and the fans were like, nah.
No, that's not cool, So ever since then, they've been working hard to kind of put him back up to be a face.
But yeah, getting him back with the Shield was a good idea. Is Dean hurt?
I think so. I don't know what's going on with him. Like he was gone for a little while, but they said it was because he was on his honeymoon with Renee Young, and I don't know. He's been gone since, and then they plugged Jason Jordan with Seth Rollins, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, because she's back. She was on at doing her announcing thing, so I don't get it.
So I don't know what's going on with him.
That's another guy who looked like he was gonna. I mean, they gave him a title and everything, but it didn't quite happen.
Yeah, I don't know what. So I don't know what's real or not, but like the Miz was kind of doing this thing where whenever the Miz has a match now with whoever his opponent is, he kind of gets a little honest, like he speaks the truth to kind of blur like what's reality, what's real, and what's fake.
Yeah.
So with Dean, he was saying like he's lazy and like he just shows up to work, he just does his matches and he leaves. But then I saw on Twitter like everyone's saying that's not true. He's like a hardworking guy. He shows up to like all the shows and everything. So I don't know. I maybe it's the management. They just don't like him for whatever reason.
Or they don't know what to do with him. That happens a lot too. They just don't know what to do with the guy. That kind of seemed to happen with Bayley. Like they didn't quite know.
Right.
When she brought him, because she was super over in NXT.
Yeah. Super
over, and they brought her in, and it kind of seemed like they didn't quite know what to do with her. Like she has her whole gimmick is she's like a fangirl.
Right.
Who came up, and then they were like, well, do we make her like a kid? Like, and they kind of did that, where she was kind of like real naive, like she was a little kid, but she's not a little kid. And then they didn't, so they took the belt off her and stuff. So now she's kind of stuck like in limbo. So I mean, it could just be that they don't know. Like, do they make Dean? I thought they were gonna make Dean Ambrose, kind of like the new Mick Foley. Mm-hmm. Like he's the guy that gets wrecked in a match, and finds a way to win. That's what I thought. But he was just getting wrecked and losing.
I got the same DDT finishing move too.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought I was like, cool. The next Mick Foley, that's cool. But it doesn't seem like it went that way. So I don't know. It happens. Just guys don't know. I mean, the creative just kind of loses the way, and the guys get buried, and they end up leaving. Right, like guys like Adam Cole and Wade Barrett. It's another guy.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to do with them, and then what was that other guy? I think he retired. He was with the Miz. Sandow.
Oh, Sandow, yeah.
Yeah, like they didn't know what to do with him, and he took off. But I think he retired. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Dean if he comes back anytime soon. Like I thought him coming back in the Rumble would have been a good return.
Yeah, he was a no-show, right?
He wasn't there at all. He wasn't at the Raw 25th. He wasn't at the Rumble. He's just gone. Kind of weird. But yeah, I think that's it for us. It's a kind of a long, nice long pod, but that's all right. We had to make up for last week. Me being out sick and all, but yeah, stick around for our next wrestling podcast and other podcasts. We gotta get Jesse back on here pretty soon.
Yeah, what has he been up to?
Who? Jesse? he's looking for a place to live. That is, I mean, he's not homeless, guys. We're not saying that. He just got a new job in another city, and he's trying to get a room or apartment or something out there, but it's pretty far. So he's just been kind of looking, I don't know about desperate, but he's been asking around. So been a little busy for the pod. So we'll see where he's at next week. Maybe he can jump back on here.
Yeah. Well. So tomorrow's the Super Bowl, so maybe we can talk about that.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about how wrong we were with our picks.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Brady pulls off gets another ring, or if the Eagles pull off the upset.
Yep.
Which I would say is like, oh, they'll never do it, but shit, they proved me wrong twice already. I was like, they're not gonna beat the Falcons. They're not gonna beat Minnesota. Crush Minnesota. Now I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just hoping it's a good game and not an ass whooping.
Right, it could be an ass whooping.
It totally could be an ass whooping. New England might just go out and just wreck them. So right. Yeah. I don't know. But all right, guys, stick around for our next show, and we'll see you next time.